Je vais passer tout de suite la parole au professeur Eugene SOBNGWI, professeur en endocrinologie et de métabolisme de la faculté de médecine de l'université de Yaoundé. Il est conseiller endocrinologique à l'hôpital central de Yaoundé et dirige également le laboratoire de médecine moléculaire et de métabolisme au centre biotechnologique de l'université de Yaoundé. À vous la parole, professeur.
Bien, merci de me passer la parole. Je voudrais commencer par vous remercier de cette invitation à cette session extrêmement intéressante sur le Covid-19. Je n'ai pas préparé un nombre particulier de diapositives. Attendez que je me mette en mode partage d'écran. Je vais pouvoir partager l'écran pour que vous ayez voilà, ces éléments. Donc, je ne sais pas, là, pour la majorité est francophone ou anglophone, est-ce qu'il faut que je parle en français ou en anglais?
Comme tu veux.
Ou bien je vais faire un mix. Donc là, quand la diapo est en français, je vais peut-être parler en anglais. So it's about Cameroon. It's a Central African country where we had the first case on the 5th of March, 2020. And it was an imported case from France. And on the same day, we had a contact of that case that was also diagnosed. Then a week after, we had the third case. And by the 15th of March, we had 5 and 10. And April, we were at 650 because of massive importation of cases around the 17th, 18th of March, when the European Union closed its border. So what is remarkable in the epidemics in Cameroon is that it's mostly due to importation of cases, but with a dramatic progression during the month of May 2020. At the beginning of May, we had just 2,000 cases, but by yesterday, so just a month after, we were at almost 5,400 confirmed cases with 177 deaths. But interestingly, more than 3,000 cured or healed or cases in remission. So what we can say is that the fatality rate is around 4%, but it is still high, mainly due to a late report to the hospitals. In fact, 2/3 to 3/4 of deaths occur either in the community or within the first 12 hours in the formal healthcare system, meaning that it's a reflection of late consultation of people with COVID-19. Of interest is also to note that Cameroon has decided to use RT-PCR for the confirmation of cases, making the diagnosis not so easily accessible to the whole population. However, to date, slightly above 20,000 tests have been performed with this yield of more than 5,000 cases because of the policy around the selection of possible cases of suspicious cases. Concerning research per se, the governing body of the response in Cameroon has a research committee that is in charge of proposing or brainstorming in order to identify the main research interests for the country. And the Minister of Health has already launched two calls for proposal to finance limited scale research on COVID-19 in Cameroon. Unfortunately, finances available for research are really tiny, which means available resources to fund research on COVID-19 in Cameroon is really a nightmare. And I've heard about this issue of human resources. That's another point, because though we have doctoral students who are available for the research, the problem remains that most of the people involved with COVID-19 response are overwhelmed with strategic work, but also with operational tasks, either as clinicians or as epidemiologists directly involved with the response, meaning that protected time for research is a problem for those who can conduct a research on COVID-19 in Cameroon. Nevertheless, some strategic axes were selected during the brainstorming process for COVID-19 research, and it covers the following areas. The area of policy analysis, with a special focus on analyzing the preparedness process and the multi-sectoral response to COVID-19. There is an axis on psychological aspects in healthcare professionals and hospital users, in patients and families. There is an axis on a risk cause for COVID-19, with the idea of switching to a suspect and treat strategy in areas where the test might be less available than in urban areas. And there is the axis of observational studies of COVID cases. Initially, Cameroon was due to be part of the WHO solidarity trials, but one point was an obstacle, was the availability of drugs in of drugs at the at the initial stages of the response, the very first few weeks of the response. There is an axis on severity of COVID-19 and its determinants, where several specialties have proposed protocols to analyze and understand what are really the drivers or the determinants of severity and, as you will see on the next, of death in patients with COVID-19. The other axis is biobanking for pathophysiological studies, including genetic studies. So biobanking is mainly driven by Centre Pasteur, where that is actually the main lab resources, lab facility utilized by the government in this response. And finally, the other aspect is clinical trials. And in clinical trials, it's about conventional medications, including mostly hydroxychloroquine and other drugs, and traditional medicine, because there's been largely evolving claims of efficacy of some traditional medicine in taking care of COVID-19. Therefore, the government urged scientists to undertake research to understand efficacy and safety of the proposed traditional medicine. In the clinical trials, there are also trials about pre and post-exposure prophylaxis that are planned by researchers. So this is basically the research axis that are being developed by researchers in Cameroon. And there is a scientific advisory board that is also, that was put in place by the Ministry of Health to give some orientation and ensure this bibliographic and scientific, la veille scientifique to address specific questions that the government might have in the context of this response to COVID-19. But main problems are the problems of funding of research and the availability of human resources to, with protected time to develop these protocols. And the other point is that unfortunately, Cameroon is not that much involved in international research, while we are clearly open to participate in multi-center trials and multi-center studies. I think I will stop there, and for the rest, during the questions and answer period, we will be able to cover all these. So thank you very much for your attention.